Welcome back. This is part 2 of how I create a felt panel. So this is what the paper looks like. All the lines are drawn. This is where I am going to take these, cut them apart, and then put them on the felt. So this is this image of the lines, of the color lines, the color blocking as per our color map lets me know which ones need to be where. So I'm going to label the sections, what color is supposed to be what, and that you'll see me do. So like the top part there, we have buttercup, and then we have the aqua and the grays. And this is just like another step, but in the end, it's all going to come out really fun and really fantastic. And I hope that you're following along. And if you have any questions, please, please, please ask in the comments. I will do my best to address them. And if another video is needed, I can know where to focus the video creative process. So again, I'm just labeling these little color sections before I cut them out. It's preparation. This is the prep work, but it's all part of that process. So the heat and bond I find I really like because it actually adds another layer of stability, and it's because I don't want to sew it. So I've been using this stuff for years for appliques, and now this is just another way I've learned to work with it. So again, I'm cutting out the different colors. These will all get ironed on to their respective felt, the color that is going to be, assigned to it. The idea is very similar, I know I mentioned, to old animation cells before digital was along, they would go in and do color blocking, and that's kind of what this is all about, is just the color blocking and figuring out where they're supposed to go and where they where they place on this fabric puzzle, if you will. We're almost done cutting it out. It's also kind of meditative. Like, I get lost in the zone of creating these just because it's becomes such a fun process, from everything from picking out the right colors to cutting them and then finding where they're supposed to be placed. But I've really enjoyed making this. I can't believe that I created 78 panels for an entire tarot deck since, what was it? It took me July to, was it February? So really not that long at all. It's actually kind of amazing. So we're almost done with all the colors, and then the next thing that we're going to do is weed the flocked vinyl. So here we are weeding the flocked vinyl. Some of the sections you have to be very delicate, especially if you have like spots in like his little eyebrows, the lines, the little spots. They don't, if you pull up too fast, you're gonna like pull those pieces up. So you kind of gotta be a little bit soft and gentle with this approach. But don't worry, if one of the spots come up, you can always just take it out and then put it back in. It's not like it's gonna mess up the whole thing. But the weeding to me is a very fun process. I know some people don't like it. I actually find it very relaxing, except when you get those little tough spots. Like you can see right there on the lines on his paw and the spots. If I just pulled that up, they would have came with it. So you want to make sure to just take your time. It's a process, but take your time. Enjoy that process. And once we're done with the weeding, we will get into the color choices and the ironing. See you in the next segment. So at this point, I have cut out all of the small pieces of heat and bond, and the ones that the drawing was on the back. And I have picked my felt colors. So now I am just going to iron them all on. And that way, when I'm ready to cut them, I just follow these as lines and put them together. So let's go do that. Here's my stack, and we are going to make them stick. Now with ironing, I really, I only hold them on for maybe a second or two, And the setting on my iron is very light setting. I have it at 2, which is just, I believe, linen. It's just hot enough to melt the glue. So you don't need to hold it on too long or to melt it. Like, you don't want to over melt it. So just go easy. Okay, so this is the weeded flocked vinyl. You can hear that it's sticky. That actually helps keep the felt down on it, but it's too sticky. So what I generally do is I take a piece of felt, which is going to be my backing, and I just get some of the stick off. This will help when we iron it. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sit here, and I have these Tim Holtz 7-inch serrated scissors. These are what I use for the felt. It helps me get a really nice clean cut. And then I have all my colors. And I'm just gonna look at the picture that I did on my laptop, which is my iPad, which is right up there. And I'm gonna sit here and cut them and put them where they need to go. And just build it. And I'm gonna do that on time lapse, so you don't have to sit here and do it all with me. But basically when you cut them, you know, you just wanna cut, like I usually cut like just to the edge or just outside the edge, because there's gonna be a little bit of an overlap as it lays on the vinyl, and then the vinyl will stick to this when we go to iron it. But you can see how like that's that part of his head. And this is how it's made. And then once it's done, I will come back on and we will flip it and reveal it and do the ironing and bring it home. So here we are just cutting the different colors. And this is actually, I know everything else has been a long process, but this is probably my favorite part. This is like the reward after doing all the prep work, all the drawing in Procreate, all the layering of the files, the imports, the exports, the cutting of the contours. Like, this is my favorite part, to really see it come together. You see the blues and the grays here because all those pie wedges are not, the rays are not actually perfectly evenly spaced. So you got to figure out which one goes where and which one is actually the correct spot. So it's kind of like a puzzle. That's like what I said earlier. It's like a fabric puzzle. But seeing it come together is just kind of like, there's just such a visual reward, and, you know, some serotonin hits. This is also why I like to minimize the space on the material, so that I'm not wasting a bunch of, you know, say that aqua, I would have to waste so much just to get it evenly spaced like that. So this allows me to maximize the color and be able to have some later for other projects. So now I'm doing, in this, you can see I'm doing the shadowing. So that color goes down before we do the white of his paws. And even on his eyes, we did the white of the eyes first, and then the gold of his eyes, and then the pink. With the nose, that smoky gray went down first, and then the full nose. You know, so this is how I get that shadowing layered effect. So you gotta like put down those colors first before you put down the final base coat. So it's almost like working backwards from what you did in Procreate, which was do the base layer first, and then you go in and you add your highlights and your shadows. Whereas here you have to put your shadows and your highlights down first, then you put your base coat, and that gives it that layered effect. I've forgotten to do that a couple times, and then you notice it when you flip it, and then you got to go back and go do it. But it's all part of the learning curve. You can see it's really starting to take shape right now. And it's what makes it so much fun. And with each one that I make, I get a little bit more experimental and just a little bit more fun. And then they make for great wall hangings and conversation pieces. And of course, this is our little new baby Braxton. He's now 6 months old. This photo was from when he was about 3 months old. And oddly enough, I was recording and I was like, oh, he kind of looks like an angel. And yet he was being such a terror all day. So it was kind of ironic. I said I told Tim, my husband, that I should have put like little devil horns on him because that would have actually been his true nature that day. But you can really see it start to come together and take shape, and it's like the home stretch. It's really, really, really so much fun to see this come together. And I really hope that if you have the means to try this out, that you will absolutely do one. So this is the magical part to me. I love this. So everything is cut and placed and all the things. So I'm going to take the tape off of the vinyl transfer film. That way this is able to be moved. As you can see, we can move it. Da, 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 da. So then now I'm going to take this piece of felt. Like I said, this is going to be the backing. And I'm going to just put it over. I'm going to be trimming it, so it doesn't really matter if the placement is not great. And then we're going to put another board on it and then just flip it and reveal. Ta-da! And next step is ironing. Look at how cute. We are now at my ironing board. It is old and dirty, so don't judge me, but whatever. It still works, so I'm not gonna say anything. All right, so I've removed the little scoring mat, and I'm on the ironing board, and I have the back of, the back is on the felt. And so then I have this Teflon sheet. If I didn't have this, I would use like a piece of paper. And I have my iron set to wool, and I'm basically just gonna start ironing it down. Yes, I am aware that my iron needs to be cleaned, whatever. So I basically just press it and press it and keep checking on it. This part takes like a little bit of pressure, but not too much. If you have like a Cricut press, I guess that could work. I had one, I didn't like it, so I like this because I like to be able to press down where it is. And basically what's this doing is it's heating up the heat and bond so that it sticks to the back of the felt. You can see how it's kind of sticking there. So then what I'll also do is just start peeling. Nope, not ready. Move it around. This is definitely was the hardest part when I was doing my felt tarot panels, because some of the really tiny details, you just got to make sure that they're in the right place. And okay, let's see how this is doing. What I'll do is I'll start peeling up a little bit and see. And you want it to start to peel nicely. And so what I do is I kind of hold it down as I'm doing it too. I'm sure there's probably easier ways, and maybe seasoned Cricut people be like, oh, there's such an easier way. This is just how I've done it. So I don't always do things the correct way. I do the things the way that it works for me. And that's okay. And then as I'm pushing it down, I'm gonna make sure all the pieces go down with it. And then we have this. Put that aside. I just press it again with my hands. And some of it. Okay, and now I'm going to put this back on it and just really give it a nice press, heat. with the heat and bond, it's a permanent adhesive. And so while these are very durable, I wouldn't recommend like it on a shirt or activewear. I mean, you can at your own risk, but I make them for wall hangings. And then what I do too is I will flip it over and just give it a nice... The spots that have the more layers, like where there's the shading and stuff with the different layers of felt on it, I will just kind of make sure that I go over that. So a couple times. You can even do that. And there we have it. There's Braxton. So then what I'll do is I'll cut around this, and then I'll put my macrame border. You know, I have the macrame cord, which is this, and then I'll stitch it around, and then that gives me the ability to put the loop in the fringe, and it actually sits like this. Like this is the horizon. So, but that I'm not going to record. I just figured I wanted to share with how I make these panels, and this is how I do it. If you enjoyed this, let me know. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I hope to do more creative things like this in the future. So please just let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you try it, tag me. I'd love to see what you're making. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.